Can I have all the speakers, please?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, the first question is for Mr. Dominic. There was a question whether district cooling plants can be done for brownfield projects, especially for the old buildings. What are the retrofit requirements? This was a question from Mr. Yusuf. Over to you, Ms.
Yes, of course, district cooling is very much an easy option in infrastructure when it's in a new development like Bahrain Bay, where it's fully integrated with the full delivery of infrastructure. But Bahrain is actually unique. Right across the region, district cooling has been driven by private sector master plans, in particular new areas. But Bahrain is one of the first places to actually put district cooling into an existing area, into Manama. We have district cooling through the diplomatic area, an already developed area. Any developer who owns a multi-story office block, for example, has the option now, when he comes or she comes to replacing their AC systems, which 15 years, it's conceivable that they have to renew and replace. They have the option of retrofitting district cooling in these older areas. And this is something that is unique in Bahrain, that this option is available in the diplomatic area and in parts of Manama. So we also have an idea of giving concession agreements. For example, in Jufair, you saw the proliferation of single AC units in every apartment. We want to give district cooling companies concession agreements for 25 years to retrofit existing urban areas, to present the options for retrofitting district cooling services. It is actually one of the biggest steps that can be taken in the energy equation, is to achieve this consistency and efficiency from district cooling. Dubai has set a target of 40% of all cooling will be by district cooling. Very ambitious target. I'm satisfied that with the regulations that have been built here in Bahrain under the leadership of SEA, and the holistic approach that's been taken in cross-referencing regulations into every field, including urban planning and building codes, we will see a flourishing of this industry with these regulations. We will attract more investment, and we will allow the private sector to do its job and deliver on our green agenda, including older areas and retrofitting district cooling services as those areas renew their cooling equipment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dominic, for your answer. I have a question for Mr. Ali. This has been asked by Mr. Tariq. He's asking, is there energy management certification required? I think he's talking about ISO 50001. Mr. Ali, please.
To answer directly, currently, no, there is no certification requirement for energy management, or particularly the ISO 50001 is currently, we are looking into it probably in the future, particularly we might target the industrial sector, but currently there is no requirement.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I have a question for Dr. Bijan. There was a very long question, so I'm taking the short portion of it. The question being, will there be any public should we not impose renewables for EV charging? That's the question asked by Mr. Lamis.
Well, it's not for me to answer, but certainly there is no, you cannot impose, because that will be slowing down the process. But obviously, renewable energy will play a big role independently, but in particular to EVs, will play a big role for those people who and the regulations again will play. Net metering is a very good step because it helps people to, if you have a house in Riverview or in Saran, you can have the space to put as a private your photovoltaic system, and the regulations and incentives help you to do that, not only to install it, but also with the net metering to manage it. That goes hand in hand with people who want to jump onto the electric wagon as the first stage adopters. For the government, it's a different story. It can go hand in hand, but you cannot. The answer is no, you cannot oblige, and nowhere in the world have done that in terms of regulatory, and would not make sense.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bijan. I have a question for Ms. Asma. The question is, will there be any public campaign to introduce the electric cars and regulations? The question is coming from Mr. Fuad.
Yes, that's a really good question. Yes, of course, we have been since the approval of this technical regulation. So we are working continuously on campaigns. And of course, before the transition period, there would be some, let me say, not a conference, but a seminar or introduction sessions that we are always, Testing and Metrology Directorate is always giving time and insists on giving knowledge to people about the newly developed technical regulations. First, to not, let me say, to not cause any issues to the traders, to the manufacturers, and to the importers. And secondly, to the consumers to know and be updated about the latest technical regulations and why they're being approved. So for sure, yes, there will be more than one campaign for introduction of these EVs.
I have one more question here, one last question. Any of the panelists can answer it. This is coming from Mr. Yusuf. Sorry, he's asking to Ms. Asma here. He's asking, EVs are strong solution to global warming. So why don't we focus on renewable energy? That's what he says. Means to cut the long question into short.
Yes. So as soon as, or not as soon as, before the electric vehicle was approved, the electric vehicle technical regulation were approved. So several government entities are sitting together and having continuous meetings and discussions to build up the strategy and to make the conversion from conventional to more electric vehicles more easily, and we are committed to it, and it is always work in progress. So yes, in the near future, hopefully it will be done.
And there is one small question to Dr. Bijan. Maybe you can share your international experience. What he is asking is whether there will be any regulation for commercial car dealerships to take some ownership, especially on the renewable energy, means battery-powered renewable energy vehicles.
Yes, the rule there in best practice countries in the northern part of Europe, the dealers gradually have changed their role in the ecosystem. And if you look at, for example, Tesla has completely revolutionized, and people do not realize that the way the whole automotive industry is working. Tesla is basic. When I ask somebody what's the difference between Tesla, which is a electric car manufacturer, and any other manufacturer that is now has committed to electric vehicles, people have difficulties to give me the answer. The answer is that Tesla from day one has focused on software and connectivity, not only to the vehicle and an engine and the CPU, and knows everything in real time about diagnostic, pre-diagnostics, and has improved the whole after sales and sales process. But he knows everything about the user and the conductor and the habits. So it's data and information. And that's the difference that I've created from day one. So the dealers will have a big transformation into their role from being a sales oriented entity will become a fulfillment oriented entity, because e-commerce will take care of that part with fixed prices, and delivery and supply chain will be automated. They will just be, at the end of the day, you cannot virtualize the vehicle, so they will deliver and they will take off the after sales part of the proposition. Now, with regards to renewable, you have to leave it to the entrepreneur individual. He wants to have a dealership that is all renewable based, good for him, and let him do it or her do it. But you cannot impose in terms of regulations anybody or anything. I think the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Tourism in Bahrain is doing an excellent job in terms of the standardization. And now we have to do the next step, which is to make sure that the dealers have a role in accelerating the process. For example, they can install as demo purposes some electric vehicle chargers in their parking, but first they have to fix the parking, because most of them do not have a decent parking in Bahrain. So these things go hand in
hand. Could I add something to that answer, please?
Yes, please go ahead.
I think that answer is a microcosm of what the SEA is trying to achieve here. What I try to get across is how holistic this approach has to be in this leadership, and it is with Dr. Mirza's leadership, we're blessed with this holistic approach. Just like Tesla and their business model, move that up a level. It's not one-for-one renewables, electrical cars. They're moving parallel. The energy certificate system for transferring and buying and selling and trading with renewables, it's all part of a holistic approach. And cars alone are only part of the formula. We are looking at, seriously, for the first time, major public transport as part of that holistic approach to moving away from cars. It has many parts, but it is the leadership to bring it all together into a holistic approach and not have one-to-one relationships within the parts that are not necessarily helpful. And as we heard, a one-to-one relationship between renewables and the rollout of electric cars. No, but it's still part of the equation, and it's still part of the jigsaw puzzle, I call it. And all those pieces are on the board. And it is with this type of leadership that is incredibly effective in terms of bringing together all of those strands together and getting this holistic approach, this communal as opposed to individual solutions in the energy equation. Thank you.
Thank you for that. One last question I have for Mr. Ali. Is there any capacity building component in the energy efficiency program of yours that is being done for the Bahraini engineers?
Can I answer that? Again, I'm sorry to butt in here.
Yes.
It is one of the visions that this is a new industry for Bahraini engineers, not just is there a capacity. This is a golden opportunity to create real jobs, real training, by creating real demand for a certain professional niche type of work. Now, we could do this and we could bring in the usual busload of international consultants to do the work for us, energy auditing and modeling buildings and moving into technology and becoming more and more sophisticated. No, the vision is let's make this a future for all of our young engineers in the energy sector, for all of the school leavers. You don't have to be an engineer to participate in the industry. The apprenticeships, the surveyors, the whole gamut of jobs that are potential here. If the policy that is on the table is followed through to fruition, we have a vision for an energy academy to transform real job opportunities for a generation of Bahraini graduates, school leavers, job creation, real demand.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely essential.
Thank you very much, all the speakers. Thank you very much to the participants. I conclude with thanking all the participants, the organizers. Thank you very much. Yeah, Mr. Ali.
Would you like to answer?
Yes, if you can quickly wrap up in 1 minute.
Yeah, because I think this is a very important question, and it's not just about introducing renewable energy and energy efficiency here in Bahrain. One of the most fruits that we get out of renewable energy and energy efficiency is creating jobs for Bahrainis. And for example, I'll tell you something about the thermal installation program. When we introduced it, there were no single company that is working in thermal installation in the construction field. Now we have tens of companies, and most of them are run by Bahrainis. We have factories that were created for manufacturing polystyrene sheets, polyurethane that is used for the roof insulation and as well as for wall insulation. We have lots of qualified engineers, more than 100 engineers are qualified now in engineering office.
Yeah.
Thank
Mr.
you. This is important, and it takes a long time to answer it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think other speakers are waiting. I think I hand over the mic to Susan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vivek. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was an interesting session. Thank you to the moderator and the speakers for the valuable insights gleaned into building energy efficiency management and green mobility. We now have a short break till 11:20 a.m. Bahrain time. Please do avail of this opportunity to form lasting partnerships with other fellow attendees.